Welcome to the Overstock Academy weekly podcast, where we help online sellers go from amateur sellers to elite online sellers in 8 weeks or less. We focus on finding on-sold name brand store Overstock products and reselling them online in places such as eBay, Amazon, Shopify, and even your own website. Overstock products are the same highly profitable name brand products that you know and trust, which basically means that if you do it right, they almost sell themselves. And the do it right part is what this podcast is all about. Welcome back, Overstock Nation. Thank you for joining me once again for a brand new episode where we are going to discuss one of the most common questions we receive from Overstock Academy members, and that's how to manage and maintain a daily schedule. We're going to talk about what tasks you should do daily, weekly, monthly, and in what order. The truth is, when you first start running an Overstock business, or any online business for that matter, it can seem like a daunting task. It can seem confusing and overwhelming to the point where you just freeze in your tracks. And you know what? It's okay. It's not your fault. It was like that for me when I started out too, and it's like that for most Overstock Academy members as well. Even people who have sold online for years struggle with this. I've even heard veterans of online selling say stuff like, "I hate Mondays," or "I find it hard getting back into the groove of things after a long weekend or vacation." Now, before I came up with a system, I suffered from this too. And the answer that I later found was a routine or a schedule. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to share my schedule, the same one that I used in my 6-figure business. After today's episode, you will know what to do first and what to do last. There will be no confusion no matter what chaos you walk into or what curveball your business throws at you that day. And trust me, it will. Now, all of us lead a different life, right? And our days may look completely different. Some of us may have children to take care of and some of us may not. Some of us may be the caregiver for an elderly relative, or heck, maybe you have multiple animals that you tend to. You may have errands to run or responsibilities to handle before you actually start your work day. I actually do have a student at Overstock Academy who runs their business from their farm, so it is possible. Now, whatever the personal aspect of your daily routine is, you will have to become the master of your time and not let your time master you. You will have to take control of time and manage it on a daily basis. Now, dealing with your daily schedule effectively and sticking to it, along with the other tactics we share with you at Overstock Academy, will grow your business. Anything short of that is basically shooting in the dark and hoping to get lucky. Now, because I don't know your personal life, I can't make suggestions on what time you wake up or what time you tend to your non-business related responsibilities. But what I can guide you on is how to manage and maintain your daily business tasks or your work schedule, if you will. When I first started out, I believe we discussed this in a previous episode, I would literally walk into my garage and see piles of work everywhere. There were piles of items that needed to be listed, there were items that needed to be processed or photographed, and others needed to be shipped. Then there were tons of messages on the computer from buyers with questions about the product, either shipping questions or different offers. And I would just jump into one of these piles with no goal in mind. Or I would bounce from one task to another, hardly getting anything completed 100%. At the end of every single day, I would leave with the feeling of being overwhelmed. And maybe you felt this way before. You see, Overstock Nation, overwhelm happens when you know what you have to do. You don't know yet how to do it, but you think you should. So I was definitely overwhelmed at the time. What that did was create not only a bigger mess, but I also lost so much time dilly-dallying around thinking of what to do first. And before I knew it, I had to stop work and put my mom boots back on and start making dinner or doing homework. I would look back on my day and think, wow, that was another day wasted. So after spending countless days and weeks making very slow progress, I decided that my daily schedule wasn't working. I was losing time and money by not having a daily schedule that kept me on track and held me responsible for getting things done. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to share with you what my daily work schedule looked like, and you can implement all these steps in order and follow suit within your business, or feel free to pick what suits you best and incorporate your own additional task as you see fit. But first, let me add here that just because you have a pretty daily schedule hanging on your corkboard in front of your desk and you see it first thing every morning when you walk into your workspace, if you don't actually implement it, it doesn't actually mean anything, does it? So I encourage you to not only create or tweak the daily schedule that I'm about to share with you, but actually follow it and stick to it, because you're going to be surprised at how much more productive you can actually be. All right, so here we go. The very first thing that I would do every morning is log on to my marketplaces and verify my previous day's sales and payments. I would confirm that all my buyers have paid and their payments have cleared. Okay, this is extremely important, especially if you do not require your buyers to pay immediately. It's very easy to make the mistake of shipping an item out that has not been paid for, and I've actually did that once. And the sad part was, as soon as I sent it out and added the tracking number, the buyer saw that and took advantage of my mistake. They never sent the payment for the item, and there was pretty much nothing that anyone could do about it. It was simply my fault. I would also at this time check my marketplace inboxes and be sure that none of my buyers have sent in messages with special instructions for their orders. You know, buyers could send you a message or instruction like maybe they want the item shipped faster, so they're going to need a new shipping invoice. Or maybe they want you to add a note on the box for the mailman, maybe to leave it by the side door or a back door. You want to be sure that you check these messages prior to packaging and shipping so you don't have to waste time either reprinting out a label or having to unpack the item so you can address their concern. Now, the second thing, once I confirmed all the payments have cleared and any buyer instructions had been addressed, I would begin pulling the items from their storage location and then start packaging and shipping. This step was very important for me to get to early in the morning because my pickup person for mail came daily around 10 a.m. Now, I didn't want to miss this pickup and have to stop what I was doing in the middle of the day to take my items to the post office, so I made sure to get this task done as early as possible. Now, if you remember in a previous episode, I mentioned that I not only shipped USPS, but I also shipped via FedEx. And due to the large volumes I was shipping, I also had a daily pickup scheduled with FedEx as well. And they would show up around 3:30 p.m. every afternoon. So when I prepared my sold items for shipping, I did them all at once. That way, everything was ready early in the day and I didn't have to worry about that later in the day and possibly stop in the middle of another project and have to go back to shipping. I would also notate what items were shipping USPS so I could get those packaged first in case the mail person came early. And then I would work on my FedEx packages. The third thing, once my items were packaged and ready to be picked up, I would then go back to my inboxes on each marketplace and respond to any other buyer questions that came in throughout the previous night and in the morning. Now let me point out something here. The reason that I did not respond to every message when I was confirming my orders in my first task was because I didn't want to waste time emailing potential buyers back. I needed to get my orders ready to be picked up, so I would come back to this task and reply to anything needing a response. Now, I have a funny story to share here, and I'm only telling you this because he would tell you this himself, but there were days when I would be slammed and needed help, so I would ask my husband for help if he was available. And this specific task used to trip him up every single time. He would go ahead and respond to all the messages, and then, God forbid, one message received a follow-up question. So he would respond to that immediately. It would then lead to another question, and then another, and then another. Other times, he could be working on something and hear the email notification or a message come in, and he would stop what he was doing and go respond to that message. And then in the middle of that, a social media notification would pop up and he'd stop what he was doing and he would jump on that. And this whole time I would just be watching him laughing quietly, saying nothing. And it was just really funny to watch. And it also happened quite a bit. At the end of the day, I would have a pile of completed work and his section would have next to nothing. And he would go, "How the heck does this happen?" But that, my friends, is the danger of not sticking to a schedule. You get so busy being busy that you end up exhausted at the end of the day with very little accomplished. You have to almost be militant with your schedule, right? You have to be your toughest critic. Use your willpower to force yourself to stick to it. And eventually this will be second nature, kind of like taking a shower or brushing your teeth. You'll do it without even thinking about it. Now, the fourth thing, once all of my potential buyers' questions or concerns were addressed, it was time to get started working on products. The first thing I would always do is arrange and sort through and make a pile of what I plan to get through that day. I would group like items. Maybe my blenders would be in one pile and all my toasters would be in another pile. Now, if I was going to spend the day working on electronics, I would group my cameras together or my Blu-ray and DVD players together. The trick is to group like items that required similar inspection methods together. And that's why my Blu-ray players and my DVD players went into one section, my home theater systems went into another section, and my tablet stuck together as well. Now, of course, if I had multiple items of the same make and model, I would group those together separately as well. Here's a pro tip for you. When you group your like items, you are likely to move a lot faster because pretty soon you will know exactly what it is to look for. You will have the correct cleaning supplies or testing tools out if needed, and you can just go through each one without having to put your tools away and then pull them back out again, maybe 3 or 4 items later. So grouping those like items will really move the inspection process along a lot faster. The fifth thing is inspect and process your items. So now that you have your items situated and ready to be inspected and processed, you can begin the processing steps at this time. This is such an important step that we cover extensively in our Ultimate Store Overstock course. This is not just looking at the item or just opening the box. When done right, this step will almost eliminate customer complaints, returns, and negative feedback, but there is a very specific way to do this. Now, since an audio podcast is not ideal to show you how to do this, you can check out how to do this on video by going to overstockacademypodcast.com/118, then select the free 7-day trial at the bottom of that page. In that video training, you will see me demonstrate the entire process right on camera. The sixth thing is listing the inspected items. Now, after you have processed your items, you will then begin to list your items on your marketplaces. Note that this is not just a matter of putting your stuff up for sale. At Overstock Academy, we have a very specific listing process, and we guide you through it step by step using our 4-step framework. Again, if this is something you need help with, go to the episode notes at overstockacademypodcast.com/118 and you'll find more information there. Now, when your listing process is complete, you will place your item SKU number on the item like we show you at Overstock Academy and put your item in its assigned location. Remember that this is part of your storage and organization steps that we covered in detail in episode 115. So if you have not listened to that episode, be sure to do so in order to execute this step properly. Now remember, throughout the day, you may decide to reply to emails, messages, or offers just so you don't keep your customers waiting. But you also want to designate specific times to do so. Now, if you have to do this, I would suggest that once you complete each step just mentioned, check your inbox and respond to those messages. Because stopping while you're processing or listening to reply to messages leads to a higher chance of an error or an oversight. And this is what I got my husband to eventually do. The point here being that, yes, you do want to respond to your potential buyers or offers because not doing so in a timely manner could cost you a sale. However, you don't want the other steps to lack detail and attention because of the constant stop and go. The lack of detail will cost you money eventually. Now, you may have several messages one day and then the next day you don't have any. The amount of time that you spend on this will vary each day. Remember that the way we show you how to load lots of pictures the right way and put your product description in there the right way will prevent a lot of messages from buyers asking simple questions that are already answered in your product descriptions. Another thing to factor into your daily schedule is if you receive any returns, you will want to handle them promptly. Now, I would open, inspect, and refund buyers within 24 hours maximum to avoid the buyer contacting me again about their refund. You will also be able to address any concerns you may have with the returned item before refunding them in a timely manner. Now, usually if you have any returns, they will be dropped off when your mail is picked up, so that's a perfect time to begin the refund process. Remember, the majority of buyers send their items back with a tracking number, so they're watching like a hawk to see when it was delivered. And trust me, their messages about "where's my refund" will start flooding your inbox if you don't handle this in a timely manner. Like I mentioned in episode 116, a rule of thumb is contact and inform the buyer before they contact you. Also, again, be sure to listen to that episode if you haven't done so already. And last, you want to designate times to review vendor listings, manifest, and make purchases. You will save some time on this once your vendor knows what products you are looking for, because they will call you directly from time to time when products become available to have you review a manifest. But before you establish that type of relationship with your vendor, you're going to want to assign yourself specific downtime to look at manifest and prepare for your next purchase. Remember, you don't want to do this when you are out of products. You have to be prepared for your next shipment to come in before your current shipment of inventory runs low or completely out. So with all of these steps combined, whatever order you choose to implement them, they will help you manage and maintain your daily schedule. Now, a few things I want to touch on briefly today would be peak times. Now, you know yourself best. Maybe you're a night owl or you're an early riser, and you want to be sure to perform each step when you're at your peak. So if you have most of your energy earlier in the day, get the more physically demanding steps out of the way, like processing and inspection. Or again, if you like to ease into your morning, start with your messages or your offers. That's the beauty about this system, is that you can take the steps suggested and implement them however they fit your lifestyle and your business best. The second thing is breaks. Now, as much as we want to speed through our inventory and get items listed for sale to start seeing sales, remember that in order for you to stay healthy and mentally clear, you need to take breaks. Now, I'm not talking about full days off. I'm talking about 15 to 30-minute breaks throughout your day. I remember I would run myself ragged trying to complete every task I had on my to-do list each day. I realized that I was getting burnt out, which resulted in my items becoming poorly inspected. I would make errors within my listings because I forgot to notate details. I was just simply overdoing it. It's amazing what a mental reset will do if you allow yourself to do it. This happens a lot to newbies in the beginning of their journey. I understand the excitement of receiving in new inventory and getting items listed for sale. I mean, the goal is to hear the cha-ching sound and start growing our bank accounts, right? But if you're not healthy both mentally and physically, your business will suffer. Now, before we wrap up today's episodes, I have a couple questions that I'm going to go ahead and answer. These questions have already been answered directly to the person who sent them in, but I feel like this may be able to help some of you in your journey as well. Please feel free to send your questions in also. The first question comes in from Amanda Baker. She says, I just sold an item and the buyer lives about 20 minutes away. He messaged me asking if it would be possible to just meet up and give him the item, stating it would save you money on shipping. He's already paid and the shipping is paid for. My question is this: should I reimburse him the cost of shipping since it won't be going through the mail? Thanks. That's a great question, Amanda. A couple things to mention here though. First, if your original listing did not offer local pickup, then I would not hand deliver this item to the buyer. Okay, a couple things could go wrong here. Because your buyer has paid, the item is still your responsibility until it reaches the buyer's physical address. Now, if eBay or PayPal have no record of tracking, you will not be covered in any way should the buyer open a case and claim that they did not receive the item. Believe it or not, you will have to refund them, even if you hand delivered it. There is no way around this, okay? Not even a copy of their license or a notarized document will save you. My suggestion would be to politely message the buyer back and let them know that you will not be able to deliver the item and that it will be shipped using the method stated in the listing and that they will have a tracking number shortly. Shoot, bonus points if you can just provide the tracking number within that first reply back. That way the conversation pretty much stops there and you don't have to keep replying and explaining to the buyer why you're unable to meet with them. Now, if your listing did have local pickup as an option and the buyer paid shipping but has changed their mind, you can simply just edit your invoice to reflect local pickup and refund the buyer's shipping fees that were paid. The second question comes in from Arnold Hamilton. He states that I keep getting price adjustments from USPS within my PayPal account. They are deducting small amounts each time. Can you tell me why this may be happening? So, without knowing the history of Arnold's account, in this case, I believe that the price adjustment is because you underpaid for shipping when you originally printed your shipping label. So USPS has recently begun charging your PayPal account the difference if there is an underpayment. What this means is rather than sending the item back to you so you can print a new label, they will allow the item to complete the transit to the destination and you will see a separate charge for the difference in fees. This is something that USPS used to do in the past, then they stopped doing it for several years, and then this is something that is just picking back up again. They used to just stop your package at the post office and return it to you. You would then have to print a new label and resend the item. So now they're just allowing it to complete transit and charging your account the difference. All right, so that's all for today, my friends. Please don't forget to check out the free trial to the Ultimate Store Overstock course. Just go to overstockacademypodcast.com/118, then click on the link at the bottom of the page. That will take you to the free 7-day trial of our most popular course. Like I said before, we don't even ask for your credit card to access the trial. It is a true free trial and it's totally worth checking out. We are here to take you from selling slow-moving, low-demand products to in-demand, name-brand products. We show you techniques that, if done right, your products will basically sell themselves. And that is how we take you from an amateur online seller to an elite online seller in just 8 weeks or less.